Are you all set, Sarah?
That's horrible. That's horrible.
Okay, I think we are good to go with quorum.
Oh.
Oops. Okay, so I will call this special meeting to order of the Jones LSC. Let's switch back and forth here. Sarah, do you want to do roll call?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Can everyone make sure that you're muted?
Okay, roll call. Andrade.
Here.
Bowman.
I'm not used to going second anymore, but here.
I'm going to do reverse alphabetical order next time. Bugs.
Yeah, man, fun.
Serna Prado.
Here.
Cresswell.
Here.
Hillbrands.
Here.
Ma here. Martinsek.
Here.
I'm Latrice. I'm just thinking she wasn't able to join. Mendivar.
Present.
Howards.
Present.
Zen.
Here. Okay, next is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to, oh, sorry. Dr. Powers, I'll second. Roll call, Bowman, sorry. Andrade,
Here.
Bowman,
Here. I mean,
What?
yes.
yes, Bugs,
Yes.
Serna Prado,
Yes.
Cresswell,
Yes.
Hillbrands,
Yes.
Ma, yes, Martinsek.
Yes.
MacArthur. Okay, sorry, Menjivar,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
and Zen.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, our next order of business is approval of minutes. And I think we'll do these right. So first, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from June 1st?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 1st.
I second. This is Roberto.
Okay, I'll do a roll call. If, and just for our new people, if you weren't there and you don't feel comfortable approving the minutes, you can abstain from the vote. Okay, so Andrade,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Bugs,
Yes.
Serna Prado,
Yes.
Cresswell,
Yes.
Hillbrands,
Abstain.
Ma, yes, Martinsek,
Yes.
Menjivar,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
and Zen.
Yes.
And then I'm going to make another motion to approve the minutes from the June 10th LSC special meeting.
I second. This is Roberto.
Yes, thank you. Andrade,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Bugs,
Yes.
Serna Prado,
Yes.
Cresswell,
Yes.
Hillbrands.
Sarah, I'm sorry. Could you change my June 1st to yay and the June 10th to abstain?
Yes, I can. Okay, Ma is yes. Martinsek,
Yes.
MacArthur, Mendivar,
Yes.
Powers.
Abstain.
Okay, and Zen.
Yes.
Those are approved. Okay.
Okay, the next item is public participation. I think Ellen and Kim wanted to give the PPLC a statement from the PPLC for public participation, since we're not really doing regular reports. And so you guys can just go ahead, and this doesn't have to be a 3-minute thing from either of you. So, because we arranged it ahead of time. So take it away.
Thank you. And I'll be starting, and then Kim will be completing our statement, just as a quick heads up. So since our last LSC meeting on June 10th, the PPLC organized and facilitated a listening session for teaching and counseling staff and administration to build on the work we have started through our Davis Squared conversations. We would like the LSC and the broader Jones community to be aware of a few items associated with this listening session. We had several speakers from different departments who courageously shared their experiences with white supremacy culture at Jones. 13 members of the Jones faculty shared their experiences. To respect their privacy and the vulnerability associated with speaking their truths, we will not be sharing specifics of what was said during the listening session. There were 70 faculty members and 3 administrators present at the session. We suggested the listening session to the administrative team on Thursday, May 27th, 2 days after Dr. Powers emailed the Jones faculty to notify us that he would be absent beginning June 1st through the end of the school year. For this session, we specifically asked the admin team to be present and listen actively. Then, after the session, reflect on how these disclosures would inform their leadership moving forward. We also requested that previously scheduled department professional development sessions on culturally responsive teaching be combined together in order to prioritize and center the importance of the listening session. These sessions were moved in order to prioritize the listening session. Our understanding at the end of our May 27th meeting with the administrative team was that all 4 administrators would be present at the session. Dr. Powers did not attend this session. He has not fully attended 3 of the 6 Davis Squared PD sessions, despite this being a priority that we as a school have allegedly been working towards. To our knowledge, he did not contact any other member of the administrative team regarding this absence. He did not contact the PPLC to notify us about his absence prior to the session, and after the session, he has not contacted us or otherwise directly addressed the staff to acknowledge this absence, much less the harm caused by his absence. In a context where presence was one of the 2 requests that we as teachers made of our administrative leadership team, to not be present demonstrated to us a lack of buy-in and commitment to this process at Jones. Without attendance, we have no confidence in the other request, which was to listen.
After the listening session, we also became aware that there was an orientation session scheduled for parents of incoming IES students double booked with the listening session. To our understanding, this orientation was put on the calendar after the listening session was scheduled and an administrator was on the planning emails. This orientation session prevented several teachers from attending the listening session, which again undermines the importance of the work being done by forcing teachers to choose between 2 very important meetings. After the PPLC organized and facilitated this listening session, we sent a debrief email to all 4 administrators to highlight the specific asks that were brought up by teachers during the session. Dr. Powers provided a recording of the session to watch and learn from. We are awaiting his response to the following asks and the listening session in general. And these were the asks. First, we asked all admin to acknowledge the harm that has been done to both staff and students at Jones, particularly staff and students of color. Also, to have more regular staff meetings and use that time to engage with one another. We also asked for our admin team to model the school community how to live out our school values. We asked for our REACH observations to be based on objective data, not subjective claims. To ask staff, especially those with disabilities, what their needs are, for example, in the parking request form. To listen to our female staff when they speak up. To support our staff, particularly our staff of color, when parents come with concerns about our instruction or grading. Specifically, to discuss with teachers, knowing that the teacher's priority is a student's best interests, and intervene when parents pressure teachers to get their way. To listen to uncomfortable truths, re-examine our values and how they were put into action. To show up for Davis Squared sessions and hold staff accountable for also showing up. To work with Friends of Jones to ensure that all families feel included and like they belong at Jones, not just the families that can raise thousands of dollars. for Dr. Powers to share his vision for Jones as an anti-racist school and share how the anti-racist initiatives will be supported. We are hopeful that these actions items will be completed, that we can move forward and grow as a school community, and are looking forward to coming together this fall with a shared purpose and commitment to this journey. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen, and thanks, Kim. And thanks for the arrangement of presenting this. Go ahead, Dr. Powers.
Yes, thank you very much. And I appreciate the PPLC making the arrangements for the listening session. I unavoidably was unable to be there. Frankly, I was driving in my car at that time on Highway 10 in northern Florida, visiting my two daughters. And that was not really a practical way for me to log in. I did inform members of the administrative team in advance that I would not be able to attend. My plans were fairly fluid, given that it had been a year and a half since I'd spent any time with my family. With regard to missing some of the Davis sessions, one time I missed because I was with my wife. She was in the hospital, and that was my priority. Another time I was welcoming new freshman parents and students to the school who had come in to purchase Jonesware, and time got away from me. I'm afraid that afternoon I spent my time meeting and greeting our new students and their parents. This does not reflect on my lack of commitment to the Davis Squared sessions. It's just that I, as principal, have many other duties, and those other duties sometimes keep me away from some of these different events that were going on. In this case, twice I was kept away due to family needs. So I received the information from the PPLC asking for various things. I would like to, I will be responding, but I have not yet because there are many things on our agenda right now to take care of, but we'll be doing so in the not too distant future. I would also like to ask that any individual who feels that he or she has been harmed in any way by my actions or by the actions of any member of our school administration, our leadership team, or any individuals, please seek us out and speak to us personally, because I would like to know just exactly what is being referenced here in terms of repairing harm. I try to address these things as much as possible, but unless I speak with someone and someone brings that issue to me, it's a little difficult for me to respond in a reasonable manner. So thank you very much for your report from the PPLC, and I'll be responding to your requests in the near future.
Ellen?
Thank you, Dr. Powers. We look forward to hearing from you. I did want to just note that in the context of restorative conversations and practices, the onus being on the person who was harmed to directly approach somebody who may have caused the harm inadvertently or intentionally is really challenging. I wanted to mention that and put that out there, that that's not a standard practice within restorative practices for very good reason. And I'm not sure if Elaine's ouch speaks to that as well, or to something else. But I wanted to make that clear.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. At the same time, I cannot know what the concerns are unless someone brings them to my attention. And I don't know that a public session is necessarily the place to do those kinds of things. We obviously disagree on that particular point. But again, I go back to what I originally said, and that is, unless I do know what an individual has a concern about, there's nothing much I can do about it other than try to guess at it, I suppose. And again, I would prefer that something like that be done where I can speak to the individual and we can do so as co-equals.
Hi, this is Simon Siu, is a parent too. And then last time I sent an email to Dr. Power, he had auto reply say he is not in the office, cannot get to the email. Okay, this is a good way to doing for the IT professional, and then from the COVID-19 stuff. Yeah, people have a lot of family stuff. I believe a family come first, and then
Thanks,
take
Simon.
care of the other stuff. Yeah, I
Um,
appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Roberto?
Kimberly and Ellen, thank you for the report. And I'm sorry. There's a lot there to unpack, and I guess I'm concerned with, there were a couple things among the many things that you've expressed today, or that you've, the statement, the information that was in your statement, or that you shared with us. One of them is listening to our female staff and their concerns, and listening to our Sid Jones faculty in color. And I've heard from various individuals that they're treated differently, or that they're held at a different standard. And I think that needs to be an ongoing discussion with the administrative leadership team. And in light of that, Dr. Powers, it sounds like that you're unaware of these concerns. And to me, what I'm hearing, and I would like you to clarify if I've mistaken anything here, but it sounds like the teachers or the faculty or staff have not approached you at any point within the past couple years or within this past year about their concerns regarding parents, or what the PPLC has talked about, this white supremacy culture, or that perhaps our female staff and our faculty of color are not feeling as appreciated, or that they don't have necessarily a voice in the school. So I just want to know if is that correct, that no one has approached you to talk about these ongoing issues?
I can say that there have been generalized discussions, chiefly through the PPLC, on some of these subjects, but no individual has come to express just exactly what that was, what the concern was. A couple of these things baffle me. For example, not listening to the voices of female staff members. I have no idea what that might be referring to, and I'd rather hear from an individual rather than do it in some kind of public session where it's generalized. With regard to issues such as parking and so forth, I mean, those are things we try to accommodate our faculty and staff in any way we possibly can. So again, if a person has a concern, I'd like to hear from that person. That may philosophically not match what Ellen was talking about earlier, but to me, it's difficult, if not impossible, to address generalized concerns by saying a certain number of people or many people have said X, Y, and Z. Then how in the world can we actually address that, or even evaluate the authenticity of it? It's very difficult. And again, I would much prefer that people speak to me individually if they feel like they have been in any way harmed, and that way we can address it. Otherwise, I don't know what else we can do.
Thank you, Dr. Powers. And I guess I have an issue with something you said, the authenticity. To me, that it's suggesting that what the PPLC has expressed today is not true or valid. To make a suggestion, I think it would be very important for the administrative leadership team, including yourself, Dr. Powers, as the principal, to have ongoing meetings with the larger staff, not one-on-one, but to really express that your door is open, that you're willing to address their issues, and to continuously send that message out. And perhaps the staff members who feel harmed or feel like they're being treated differently are going to the PPLC because they feel more comfortable with them and the group to express their concerns. So I think, as a suggestion, that the administrative leadership team should be engaging the whole school to create just a better environment and ensure that everyone is welcome to speak with you to address some of these concerns.
Thank you very much.
Rachel?
Sorry, this is Simon.
Sorry, Simon, can you use the hand raising thing? And this
sorry.
discussion right now?
I don't know how to using the hand.
Okay, you can put in the chat also. I'll check the chat too. But this, right now I'm calling on council members. So go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Dr. Powers, because I know there was a recording made of the listening session, and I know we're talking about some fundamentals of restorative practices is, the harmed individual doesn't go forward to the person that's harmed or perceived harm. And so I was just wondering if you've had the chance to watch the recording of that meeting, of the listening session.
I have not had that opportunity, no. I had a significant backlog of things, including hiring and a number of other priorities. I will be getting to that in the near future.
Daniel?
I was also wondering if it would be possible to, when harmed individuals come to Dr. Powers to talk about how they were harmed, if it's possible to bring a third party member, because I know in corporate settings, there's usually an HR that deals with issues between superiors and other individuals. So is there a way to bring in counseling or any other people into people when they come to you? Because I think what Ms. Martin said was talking about earlier with that group setting of people coming to talk to you was that it's not a one-on-one. And sometimes when it is a one-on-one, things can be hidden because people are scared to really express how they feel. So yeah, is it just possible to bring some other people in there?
Thank you, Daniel. That is routinely allowed for. There really is no issue. Frequently, if I meet with a student, they've brought another student along, maybe they both sharing the same concern, whatever it might be. I met with a staff member and 2 students yesterday morning, for example, over an issue. And all we have to do is to have the person who is actually the person who has the concern to be the one who's experiencing that. And I go back to something Mr. Menjivar asked about. I did use the term authentic. I think more non-generalized, more specific is what I had in mind, because again, you get generalized sort of statements. They're very difficult to respond to because you don't know exactly where they're coming from. Again, I think it's better to come from the individuals who express those concerns, and if they wish to have someone else present with them, that is fine with me. It doesn't mean that we're not going to discuss some issues in larger settings, but in this particular situation, to me, it is much more productive. It is much more professional to discuss face-to-face with someone, or like we're doing right now, if it's necessary, and then have the people who are actually affected and actually perceive that they have been harmed in some way or slighted in some way to actually express themselves, along with a colleague or a friend if they wish to.
Thank you. And I also just wish that when you are communicating to faculty that they are able to come to you, that you also communicate that as well. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Elaine, I noticed you had an ouch in the chat. I don't know if you want to expound on that. And for those of you who have not joined us in previous meetings, we've been having sort of an ouch and oops norms where if you cause harm or feel harmed, you can use that. And Elaine, feel free if you want to add anything on that.
So thank you, Madam Chair. I did not speak just because I am still feeling that ouch.
Understood.
My heart is racing. I will say the ouch was in response, just listening to the report from the PPLC. That hurt on a lot of levels. The lack of response. It's just painful. And I know this is my experience as a person of African descent. Dr. Powers, it hurts. I just want to say that's very disheartening. And I didn't want to necessarily speak out because I'm sure there are whatever reasons, but just know that that hurts. It really does. And with the time frame, whether it's intent or the impact is that it comes off as is not a priority, that is not important. And I'll just leave it there because I don't want to get emotional, but I'm still hurting from that. Thank you.
Thank you for your feedback.
Thanks, Elaine. Just to add one comment, I think the issue with saying that individuals should come and speak about this with you, Dr. Powers, is that I think that listening session was really supposed to be an opportunity for that sort of conversation, and I think that's sort of the harm that Elaine is referring to. Not to put any words in your mouth, Elaine, on that, but I think that is the sort of the core of the issue that the PPLC report was covering.
I understand what you're saying. Again, a group of 70 people is not necessarily the best way in which for an individual to express themselves, especially toward another individual. My experience has always been it's better for people to speak directly to each other and express themselves directly. And again, if they wish to have someone else present, for example, teachers will often have either a colleague or their union delegate or whatever it might be, whoever it might be, that is fine. Same with students. But again, I still prefer an individual speak with me rather than speak in a large group. For one thing, it puts the individual who's being addressed very much on the spot. And it's more of a, frankly, it's more of a struggle session to me in my own mind. That is not why I did not attend the listening session. I certainly listened and attended the one last summer. But again, it comes across as, frankly, an opportunity to ambush people and put them on the spot in front of a crowd. And it's something I don't appreciate. I would much rather speak to an individual and resolve issues.
Okay, one last comment, I think, from Violet.
Yeah, I'm also on the same boat as Elaine. Like, I don't really want to talk before I get emotional. But I wanted to respond directly to what you just said, Dr. Powers, on, sorry, I'm gonna lower my hand, on talking one-on-one. I get that, and I can see how that works specifically in coaching styles, when you're directly trying to coach an educator, whatever it may be, in certain professional settings. But if we look at the history of marginalized people, nothing has been actually changed when it's been a one-on-one setting, and really the pressure has been put when the power of the people as an organized force have come to spaces that are often rooted in white supremacy, not specifically you, but spaces such as education, and put the pressure where the pressure has to be put. So I actually disagree, especially when you're talking about marginalized communities. We haven't seen very much change when you want to talk one-on-one with somebody. When you see the change is when there's an organized force and organized issues coming together and speaking directly to that person. So I can see how you feel attacked right now, and this is a bigger, larger systemic issue. But also maybe the one-on-one just hasn't been working, because as a person of color, also as a Latina woman in education, where 80% of the workforce is white female, that hasn't always been my experience where I can talk one-on-one with somebody, because I'm still living in a world of white supremacy and my voice will still not be heard when I'm talking in a one-on-one setting. So I also am a little bit disheartened by the lack of just overall, I'm sorry, period, without the defensiveness. And I'm just gonna stop there.
Thank you very much. I can assure you that if you ever brought an issue to my attention, I would be more than happy to speak with you. I would be more than happy to entertain any time you wanted to, and certainly try to respond as very best I could. I think anyone who can view our situation objectively would say that my door is open. We give our faculty and staff members our personal cell phone numbers and invite them to contact us at any time or to text us if there's an issue. And again, during the course of the school day, all one needs to do is reach out and contact us, and we will make ourselves available as we always
have. Sarah, did you have a comment, or can we?
We can move on. I think I would just be beating the dead horse.
Okay, we'll go on to the next item, which is the parent representative vacancy, discussion and selection. So we have a number of people here from the list. We have a number of candidates who sent in statements, and then we also had people who expressed interest. So I think anyone who is here, we can kind of just go down the list, and you can take like 2 minutes to introduce yourself to the council. Sarah is sharing a folder with the statements. And yes, let me try to do this in some sort of systematic order. 1 sec. Okay, so I'll call people who are on the list by their first name alphabetically, which is kind of silly, but sorry. So Elva Thomas.
Okay, firstly, I have to apologize. I may be appearing to you as 701 West Jackson secretary. I'm on the board of my condo. I used that because it was convenient. I had Google whatever this thing is on it. But my tenure is going to end in the fall, so I'll be available, and so that will not be a conflict. But okay, with all that said, I have a senior at Jones. Knew the person that was responsible for the construction of it because I was part of the team that built things. My personal school that I built was Region 1 High School, which you know as Northside College Prep. Boo, hiss. We'll put that aside. But I would like to join this group because I want to get involved in the processes that you are involved in. I'm committed to the community. I'm committed to adding diversity, a different perspective. I watched that building go up as I watched several buildings go up. I saw you guys take over. I like what you're doing. I want to get involved in that process. I've been involved on the board here in my condo. I was on a board and a community outreach board at Rush Hospital for about 9 years. So I know what being on the board is like. I know what the commitment is, and I want to be a part of it. I'm committed to Jones. My son is a senior, and God bless him. He's heading off to great things because of what he learned there. And this is my way of giving back to you guys. So I'll cut it there.
Thanks so much, Mr. Thomas. So we'll go through, and then council members, we can ask questions to the candidates that are here.
Please.
So hold tight. Let's hear. I saw Kara before. So Kara Krantz was on the call. She's disappeared. Wait, wasn't she by her phone number? Is she gone now?
55. She's gone now, but she asked us to read her statement.
So one issue, Kara is not actually eligible until school starts. She has a rising freshman. But I think for everyone on the call, like for all the people interested, there's only one parent spot, but we do have 3 standing committees, and we can add committee members to any of those. So do keep that in mind as well, that there are multiple ways to get involved. And so that's something we'll tell Kara as well, presuming that we'll manage to fill this position tonight. So next, Karen Sanders.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Great, awesome. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. My name is Karen Sanders Marcus. Thank you for inviting me to present my candidacy to you tonight. My 10 years as a Chicago public school parent, my professional background coupled with my commitment to the success of Jones and all CPS students makes me an outstanding candidate. My oldest daughter is a Jones rising sophomore. She attended kindergarten through 8th grade at Prescott Elementary, a CPS school in West Lincoln Park, where my younger daughter is a rising 7th grader. Our family has been devoted to supporting the teachers, administration, and students at Prescott. For 10 years, I have led monthly school tours and act as an ambassador for our school. I field phone calls, emails, and host summer and evening meetups to recruit and acquaint new families to Prescott. My first 5 years, I was an active fundraiser and helped to organize our first school auction, which I know you know is very hard. I have also been a room parent, in addition to supporting our physical education teacher and organizing the annual Prescott Field Day. For 3 years, I assisted our Daniel Murphy Scholarship applicants with their essays and applications. I am humbled to have worked with these remarkable students and their parents. And it's been a gift to see our school double in size since our first year and earn National Blue Ribbon recognition in 2019. As a CPS parent, I've had the opportunity to observe the integral role the LSC plays in the success of a school. For 9 years, my husband Eric was a parent representative of the Prescott LSC. I had the opportunity to observe the working relationship between an LSC and the school principal. I have appreciated watching our LSC navigate the complexities of the CPS system, including budget allocations and capital improvements in order to provide the best for our students. For 21 years, I have worked for the University of Illinois at Chicago, where I was also a student, in a variety of roles, including fundraising, admissions, and most recently as an advisor in the medical school. My work for a diverse public institution has helped me understand the workings of a large organization with many different stakeholders. Later this summer, I will be leaving UIC to focus on my college and pre-health advising business full-time. My motivation for applying to be a member of the Jones LSC is multi-layered. I would like to be an ambassador for Jones and gain experience volunteering in a new capacity. I like the structure of working alongside other parents, community members, teachers, and our principal, Dr. Powers, to participate in discussions and decisions around the budget and other initiatives. Finally, I am most interested in serving our Jones community. I'm committed, and I want to learn more about our school. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Next, Deborah Land.
Good evening, LSC members, Jones family, faculty, and community members. I'm Deborah Land. My daughter is a sophomore student at Jones. I'm an engineer by education, and I work in international business consulting from home. I am already approved as a level 1 volunteer at Jones, and my personal areas of interest relating to public education include equity, social and emotional learning, and advocacy for students with medical issues and other special needs. Since this opening is only for the remaining 1 year of the existing LSC term, it's really important that you consider someone who comes already familiar with the roles, policies, and procedures of local school councils in CPS. This member needs to be able to get started right away and not require substantial training to become an effective LSC member. I served already as a parent representative on the LSC at Ogden International School, where I also held leadership positions as the secretary and the FOIA and OMA officer. I've been through multiple rounds of budget processes, CIWP, and principal evaluations. And during my tenure on the Ogden LSC, I developed strong working relationships with the Office of Local School Council Relations, and I'm ready to apply what I learned there here at Jones. Although my family's only been at Jones remotely this year, I've been involved at Jones through the Equity Committee. I believe passionately that every voice in our school needs to be heard, and our students and our staff members need to feel at home at Jones, and that our parents, regardless of language capability, should be able to fully participate in their students' education. And to this end, I participated in the Equity Through Language Accessibility project, where we recommended a phased approach to the LSC of ways to assist participation of non-English fluent parents or limited English fluent parents through updating the school website to include all home languages and including translation for all emails going home. And I'm very pleased that the Jones LSC accepted our recommendation and has already worked with the school administration to implement these changes. and that the budget for professional translation services for non-English speaking or limited English speaking proficiency parents are already included in your budget. I think this is so important that our LSC must continue to fund what we say the priorities of our school are. If I'm provided the opportunity to serve on the Jones College Prep LSC, I commit to using my skills and energy to ensure that as the parent representative, all the parent voices are heard and valued. My style is first to listen, to hear, to try and seek clarification where I need clarification so that I can really understand, because not everyone's experience is my personal experience. And it's important then when we can form that collective body of information, then we can act appropriately. And that would be my approach as a parent representative on the local school council. And I thank you so much for the time and opportunity to speak with you this evening.
Thanks, Deborah. Next up, Jen, and I think I saw her on here, Huberman, and it's
Yeah, it's I'm Jennifer Huberman Schley is Jen. I have 2 kids currently at Jones. My son Gabi is a rising senior, and my daughter Sadie is a rising freshman. So I'm very familiar, and I have a 3rd child, Judah, who graduated from Peyton a year ago and will be attending college in the fall. So I'm familiar with Jones from being a parent. I love the teachers that Gabi has had. I'm a big fan of Dr. Powers. I'm very grateful for everything that Gabi has gotten at school, especially seeing his process compared with his older brother. It's been, I mean, his brother had a great experience too, but the community, I think, is unique and really special at Jones. And I'm in a position now, I spent a lot of years, all 3 of my kids attended Bernard Zell on Shamet Day School, and I did a lot of work with their PTC. I chaired it. I mean, this is all in my statement, but I can tell you, I chaired a committee to welcome new families, do mentors and PALs for the kids. I chaired the teacher appreciation event and committee. I chaired other community building and outreach committees. I was the chair for 2 major fundraisers. I was on the development committee and worked a lot of work with the annual campaign. I also was a room parent for probably 15 years. With Sadie graduating, I ended my 16-year tenure there. I also was involved with Young Women's City Council through Jewish United Fund. I chaired that council and spent 6 years on that board. So I have board experience and leadership experience, you know, doing outreach, community building, education, fundraising. Professionally, I'm a clinical psychologist, and so I have a lot of experience working with teens and teens in community mental health settings. I've worked at Mount Sinai Hospital, University of Chicago Hospital, DePaul Community Mental Health Center, in different outreach to different schools. I had a focus on community clinical psychology, so prevention programs. So I was particularly interested in the committee that dealt with mental health initiatives, or I think it was health and, can someone, what is it? It's health and
Safety.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like my experience as a clinical psychologist, but also as the mom of 3 teens, I have some sense of what teens are going through, and how we can help them in the school setting and in the community setting. Yeah, and I'm at a place professionally. I have a private practice now. I transitioned 4 years ago from a community mental health center to a private practice in the city. And with my one kid out of the house and my other two needing me less, I would love to contribute to the Jones community.
Great. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, thank you.
Next, Joe Miller.
Hey, first of all, great to meet you all, and I appreciate this opportunity to talk with you all and also to listen in. So my name is Joe Miller. I have a rising junior, Aiden, in the school. I also had, well, I still have a daughter, but she was at Jones, Jillian, who graduated there a few years ago. So I've been very familiar with the school, and I know, talking to both of them, they have thrived and they loved it. The connection I've got is I haven't been that involved on the school side. What I have done with my kids up to this point has been more around coaching. And I know that pales in comparison to teaching, but this was about 15 years ago when I started. And I said in the statement, but it was almost an epiphany for me to say, wow, this is really satisfying to work with kids and to teach and to show them and take them through. And so at that point, my career coincidentally started in education. So professionally, I've worked the last 15 years with both education publishers, curriculum providers, also ed tech, where I've worked with startups and others in designing digital courseware. And the theme that has gone through all those experiences has been my mission to try to elevate and enhance the learning experiences. And so working with instructors and trying to understand where are your pain points and how can we create tools to solve those, understanding from students where they get hung up on things, talking about learning strategies and designs. My last job was as the company's learning design and strategy. So trying to help dive into different things around, like, say, micro learning and different concepts that I know you guys work with every day. Where I'm excited too is, and it's kind of a weird thing to say, I've actually, my kids no longer want me to coach. I'm not good enough for them at this point. So my time has freed up as well in terms of wanting to be all in terms of being involved in an organization. And so when this opportunity, when I saw the email, is like, wow, this is something that I could come in, hopefully help make an impact, be all in terms of some of these issues that you guys are talking about and try to contribute. So that's who I am. Looking forward to hopefully next steps, but if anything, I appreciate the consideration. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Miller. And Mary Claire Maxwell. I see her there.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Claire Maxwell, and I just want to say thank you for the invite to share a little bit about myself. First of all, I'm so impressed by the various candidate statements that were shared, and I know for sure that the future of Jones and the future of the Jones LSC is in great hands, no matter who the LSC selects this evening. So thank you for so many people being interested and so many well-qualified people being interested. It's super exciting. I am starting my 12th year as a CPS parent. My daughter is a rising junior at Jones. I also have a daughter who's a rising 8th grader at what was formerly called Andrew Jackson Language Academy and is now called Chicago World Language Academy. We just changed our name. So that's a little bit about my academic exposure in CPS. I did serve on our local school council for Andrew Jackson for approximately 7 years and served in various capacities. Similar to Karen and Deborah and others who've spoken, I have volunteered and supported our schools through open houses, new family tours, working small group pullouts for reading when our budgets were slashed and we no longer could have small group reading teachers on staff working with kids that were in my children's grades and working with kids who are not in my children's grades, because I think reading is so important for the future of a child's academic success. All the way to working the coat room for Jones's homecoming. I give you that range just to say, like, I'll change the toilet paper. It doesn't matter to me what needs to be done. Whatever needs to be done, I'm there to do it. The one example, I guess, I wanted to share that I think can give you some insight into who I am and what I value. When we joined the Jackson community, we started attending the fundraiser. You know, most Chicago public schools have their large fundraiser every year. You get all dressed up. Maybe you have a dinner, you bid on a bunch of stuff, and they raise a lot of money. And I noticed that only maybe 100 or 125 families attended this fundraiser. And I really felt that it didn't form an opportunity to build community, right? It formed an opportunity to build community for only a select few. And so we started spitballing the idea of having something called the Taste of AJLA. We are a World Language Academy, and I felt like it was an opportunity where we could have a low financial barrier to entry and a wide opportunity for involvement and inclusion, and highlight our world languages. So we are now going on, last year being a bit of the exception, but I think we're going on the 6th year or 7th year of having this spring event that is open to everyone. You know, tickets are, I think, 50 cents a ticket. Items for dinner are 2 tickets or 3 tickets. So again, there's a super low barrier to financial entry, but it draws probably half of our school community together to build on that community and just bring everyone together to do something fun and to highlight our world languages. So the important things there are that when we joined the community, we sort of watched and observed and listened, and based on that saw a need and formed a small group of people to build something that fit the need. So that's a little bit about me. Good luck to the LSC. I wish you guys all the best making your decision this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Maxwell. And I think last of people who are on the call is Simon Chu. Do you want to go ahead, Simon?
Yes, my name's Simon Siu, and I work for the big company. We have employee about 20,000 people. I work over there for over 30 years. Usually when we have some issue, and then we just call HR, and then with the manager, and then find out the plan how to fix our issue. So just recommend just like still talk to HR. I believe CPS not like that big. I have 20,000 people on the company. Yeah. I got my master's degree and DePaul University. I retire 8 years already. And then right now I'm volunteer of the friend of Jones, and then helping 11 aldermen translate some letters. And then I'm the president of the Haley Star from the Robert Elementary School. Right now, I don't have a kid over there, so I just helping. And then I'm a parent club of the Haley Elementary School for almost over 10 years. And then I help elementary school Robert Healy to take the graduation picture every year. I just skipped on last year, 2020. I cannot go inside. And then I'm an LSC member from Robert Healy Elementary School for over 10 years. I'm a level 1 on the Jones volunteer support. And then most of the time right now I spend time to try to translate some medical document from English to Chinese, and then let the people know what's going on the COVID-19. And I give a presentation for the Robert Healy Elementary School for the college plan, just like how to plan your kid go to college, and then how to get your funding. And then I have 3 kids graduating in Healy Elementary School, and then 2 graduate at Jones College Prep. They both have graduated from college already. I still have my son, the youngest one, junior year this year, but in September should be senior year. Thank you for let me speak. And just one thing is I support the SRO. I would like to have just like safety school. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Shu. And okay, I think that is everyone who is on the call. There are a couple statements that are in the drive for people who are not on the call. So hopefully everyone has taken a look at those. And I think we can field a few questions, maybe like 5-10 minutes of questions. Yeah, so council members, go ahead and raise your hands if you have questions for any of the candidates. Anyone going once? Roberto?
Yes, this is so thank you everyone for your interest in participating in the local school council. It's important to have a variety of stakeholders and parents involved in the governance of our school, and to ensure that our student voices, that we're making decisions that are student-centered and for students. So this question is to whoever wants to take it. I'd like to know if you can tell the local school council 1 or 2 areas of growth that you see for Jones. Aside from the budget is always an issue in CPS, but what are 1 or 2 areas of growth that you see at Jones, and how would you address those issues or those problems? And how would you use your experience to address those things?
Can I don't know how to do the.
Oh, that's okay. I'll call on you, Jen.
Okay, thank you. I'll raise my hands the old-fashioned way. You know, what occurs to me, I don't know if it's Jones specific, but I think after the 1.5 years we've had with COVID, and I think kids being online, I think the stress of kids coming back, I think the stress that families in the city with just everyone being at home and being out of work or working from home, worrying about health, worrying about money, worrying about violence. I think the violence in the city, just there's so many stressful things going on in our world right now. And then I think in Chicago specifically, uniquely, I think I can't even imagine being a teacher going into next year. So I can't imagine having been a teacher from home and then going into the year where hopefully we'll be back in school, at least for more students. So how do you do that as a community and an institution, and then deliver the high quality, just what Jones is known for? I think that's a huge challenge going into the next several years, because I think these kids have been and the staff and teachers and the administration has been really, it's beyond stressed out. I mean, it's like a trauma on some level. So how do you address that and then keep up what Jones is, you know, really known for and good at? How do you fix that? I think, or how, I don't know how to fix it, but I think how would you address that? I think really being sensitive to the needs of the teachers. Someone said at the beginning of the meeting about, you know, I come in at 5:30 and I don't want to be here until 7. But I think there are going to be so many stresses and challenges for teachers and administration and students and parents. I think meetings and community forums, both in person, online, I think there has to be kind of communication and response.
Thanks. Rachel,
Hi.
do you need to give your question, and then we can just have people choose either your question or Roberto's for the ones who want to speak? I think that was yours like directed at a particular candidate, or is it a more general?
It was a kind of a quick general question, and I asked the community reps the same question, which is, oh, Google tells you to lower your hand. That's great. It was just, I know that Deborah's already served on the equity committee, and Jen, you mentioned the health and safety committee. So I just wanted to ask all of the candidates, regardless of what happens tonight, would you be interested in serving on one of the subcommittees? Because we can get a lot of work done and have good conversations there as well. So there's the budget, the equity, and then the health and safety committee.
Hi, this is Simon. Sorry. I would like to be in it because I'm an Asia, and then I'm worried on my son go to school because you will see the New York and California when you walk on the street and then you got beat up. So I'm worried about, I hope just like next year, the school still can able to do remote learning, give the opportunity. Yeah, instead everybody have to be in school. Yeah. Same thing when you go to LSC meeting, we have opportunity to virtual instead of come in for the meeting. Yeah.
Thanks, Simon. And then Deborah, do you want to go next?
Sure.
Yeah, like, Joe, wasn't your hand up? Do you want to speak, Joe? And then yeah, go ahead.
Just real quick with I think it was Roberto, your question. You mentioned growth in the areas. I think, Jen, first of all, you were spot on. I think with my guy, his being assimilated back next year is a big thing. And I think the thing that I'm looking forward to, and I see some growth, is just the ability for the students and I actually am very confident on the academic side. I think what he's seen so far has been awesome. The non-academic and the social and that sort of things is areas where there's going to need to be some thought leadership and programs and such to do that assimilation. So that was one. So I think, Jen, you were going to that. My area, and this is where my expertise comes in, is from tech. And so where I hope to make a contribution is to be able to help out, whether it's advisement or just being aware and helping to shepherd some of those things. And it's not just courseware kind of stuff. There's a ton of technology that can be used to raise anything from an administration to teacher support to even some of these out of school programs. So that's a perspective that I think I can bring and add some value on that side. So that was it. And then any committees, I'm all good.
Thanks, Deborah. Do you want to go next?
Sure. I'll combine both questions into one answer. I think one of the biggest challenges that we'll face in the fall when school starts is rebuilding the community or building our community. My daughter doesn't know any of her classmates. I mean, I'm not concerned about the academics. I think Jones is going to be fine for academics. We have excellent teachers. We have some things that may need some tweaking and tuning in terms of curriculum, but I think in the general sense, we're in a good way there. but we need to really focus on community building. And I also see a need to continue that, not just in terms of getting everybody back together at school, but we need to do some real equitable community building too, because we have people who've experienced harm and hurt, and we need to find a way to offer healing and support and bring everybody together, because I see from what we heard in the public comments, from what we've seen at the equity meeting, and feedback that we've heard from staff or from students or from parents, I think that's our most challenging lift for this coming school year. And it's going to take creativity. It's going to take patience. It's going to take open arms, open ears, open hearts. And I think that that's really very important. As to whether I will continue working on committee work if I'm not selected for the LSC meeting or for the LSC parent representative seat, absolutely. I feel really passionate about equity work, and I've really enjoyed having the opportunity to become part of the Jones community myself. And I think I've demonstrated that I'm somebody who can take a project, run with it, and bring it back ready to do something. And that's really the whole point.
Thanks, Deborah. And then Karen.
Hi, thank you. And I echo what most everyone has said here, and I absolutely will be part of any committee that you see that I'm the best fit for. And I will, now that I'm not working 2 jobs, will be definitely getting involved with Jones in one way or another this year. I think I absolutely echo what Deborah, Joe, and Jennifer had said about the social emotional health of our students, equity. We did a lot of anti-racism curriculum work in our medical school. We did not do a good job with it in many years, and our students rightfully let us have it this year as faculty and staff. I think what I am most interested in exploring, although very difficult, is my daughter this year, super impressed with her teachers, overly impressed with what they've done, with how well they got to know her via Zoom. She was going into the school 2 days a week. I have extraordinarily amount of empathy for her counselors. They have huge caseloads. As an advisor myself, I had a caseload of 223 medical students. And our counselors at Jones have more than that. So I would love to explore support if we have that right as the LSC for our counselors, because their work is going to be doubled next year with kids coming back. And I also am very, very focused on meeting students where they're at and pushing them. And if they're ready to go to college, awesome. I definitely think our students need additional college support and services, because our amazing advisors are so overloaded and they're doing their best. Thank you.
Thanks so much. If that is all of our questions from council, we can, I entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss our candidates. And for the rest of you on the meet, you can stay in the meet. Right, it'll just, or Sarah will arrange something there.
So I will just pause the stream, but if people stay on the meet, where are we going?
I set up a closed session. If you would, I can send that out. I wasn't sure what we were gonna do. So
let's do that.
If you want to do that, I will save it now and people can check their email.
And I will pause the stream, and when we come back on, remember, we do no voting in a closed session. We just have discussion, and then we come back and then we make a vote.
Yeah.
And might ask clarifying questions.
Yeah, so thank you everyone who has took the time to speak with us and be here and send in comments. And, you know, we can only pick one of you, so please do consider joining a committee. And you know, we have a ton of perspectives here and interest in continuing to advocate. And so please stay in touch on that, all of you. So, okay. And so I will adjourn the open session, and then everyone check their email and we'll see you in the closed session.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to double check. We're leaving, right? I have to leave.
You can just hover on. So we have a whole separate meet that we'll be in, and then we'll come back to this meet for when the open session resumes. We'll be back here.
Okay, so I'm leaving and then checking my email for the new.
No, you don't go into the closed session. It's just for the council. So that we actually have to vote to go into closed session, you guys. Crap. How many do we lose? Don't go yet. Okay, we actually need a motion and a vote, and the motion should be that it's under the exception of personnel discussion and council member selection. So would someone want to make that motion?
So move.
Okay, I'll second. And
Okay, sorry about that.
that's okay. I have it written here. I don't know why I didn't do it. Andrade,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Bugs,
Yes.
Serna Prado,
Yes.
Cresswell,
Yes.
Hilbrands. Yes. Ma is yes. Martinsek.
Yes.
Menjivar.
Yes.
Powers.
Yes.
Zen.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll go to adjourn at 7:41. Okay, and then Troy, did I even get Troy's email? I did not. Troy, you've got me. You could text it to me too. Okay, thanks. I will.
Okay, so we will adjourn this open session and go to the closed session, or recess from open session. So Sarah, when you have us ready to stream,
We're ready.
okay. So I'll call, or
Yep.
yes, okay. We'll call this open session back into order, and Sarah will do a roll call.
Andrade?
Here.
Bowman? I see you, Bowman. It's okay. I see you chewing. Are you here? She's here. Bugs?
Present.
Thank you. Serna Prado?
Here.
Cresswell?
Here.
Hillbrands? It's definitely here.
Sorry, but my speaker was muted, so I didn't hear the roll call, but I'm here.
Troy? I know he's here because he let me in. Ma is here. Martin
Here.
Thank you, Troy.
Here.
Manjavar.
He's here in both forms.
Present.
Okay.
Present.
Okay. Powers.
Here.
Zen.
Here.
We forgot to take a bathroom break.
Okay. I think my internet is not awesome, so tell me if I'm cutting out. Okay. So we can entertain a motion on filling the parent representative vacancy. Go ahead, Sarah.
I'll make a motion to nominate Deborah Land for the LSC parent representative position.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Rachel. And I don't have any cameras right now, so everyone else, I'm flying blind here as chair. So Rachel or Sarah, do you want to do a roll call?
Is there any other discussion, or should I just do roll call? Okay, roll call. Andrade?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Bugs?
Yes.
Serna Prado?
Yes.
Cresswell?
Yes.
Hillbrands?
I'm sorry, I stepped away for a second. What are we?
Sorry, I made a motion to nominate Deborah Land for the LSC parent representative position.
Abstain.
Okay. Ma is a yes. Martinsek?
Yes.
Menjivar?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
And Zen?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion carries.
Congratulations.
Great.
Thank you for your confidence and trust. I will work hard to do my best for Jones and for our community.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who has put in time and energy into applying. And do be in touch either through the Jones general LSC email, or you can also email me, which is CassieLSCJones at Gmail. If you're interested in the committee position, and I think we have all the committee chair emails on the website as well. So do consider that. The committees basically have monthly meetings, and there's lots of ways to help them out. Okay, our next item is the whole school safety plan. So it's 8 now. Is Mr. Mitchell on? And let's hear.
I was supposed to let him know. I just let him know.
Maybe we could take a break.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like we could take a quick break. So let's be back at 8:15. So recess till 8:15. And do you want to text him that, Rachel?
I just let him know. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to have to take another roll call.
Okay.
So maybe if we're here, I'll get started with that.
Yeah, so let's call back to order. Looks like we'll have quorum. So.
Okay, yeah, it's 8:15. Andrade.
Here.
Bowman.
Here.
Bugs.
Present.
Serna Prado.
Here.
Cresswell.
Here.
Hilbrands.
Here.
Land.
Here.
Ma here. Martinsek.
Here.
Benjavar.
Present.
Powers.
Here.
And Zen.
Here.
Okay, we're all here.
Great. So our next item is the whole school safety plan. Mr. Mitchell is here with an update, and Rachel is also on that whole school safety committee, and shared some slides which are in the, oh, that's right, and Daniel, sorry, in the folder for the meeting. And so I will let you three discuss what the committee has done since we all last met in June 10th.
Good evening, everyone. I guess I'll wait for the slides to be pulled up. We'll try to make this as brief as possible. You've had the plan. We haven't made too many, changes to it. We took your recommendations into consideration, and the slides that Rachel has created kind of lay out the any changes or modifications that we have made to the plan. So I guess we'll start by just going through this presentation, and then if there are any other outstanding questions for us, and then I guess it's up to you all on, are you guys going to vote on this tonight, or what's the end goal?
It would be great to be able to vote on it tonight. And yes, I think we are somewhat compelled to vote by July 14th. So tonight would be ideal if everyone feels comfortable with that after this discussion.
Okay. With the first priority that focuses on making sure that students feel connected with staff and peers, the LSC recommended that there somewhere be included commitment to developing an SEL strategic plan, a commitment to meeting with SGA and other cultural clubs, and they wanted us to check in with the counseling department to see if they do conduct some sort of yearly exit survey. So we had no changes for the plan in terms of this priority, but the committee has added to the plan a commitment by the school leadership to present a comprehensive SEL plan that is ready to be implemented at the start of the 2021-22 school year. So I'm not sure if it's easier just to go through these slides or to actually pull up the plan. We'll start with this with just the slide presentation. Next one. This is in regards to priority 2, which is around making sure that all students feel physically safe in the building. After the June 10th meeting, there were recommendations. Well, before making the recommendation to hire more security, they wanted us to conduct an analysis of exit entry procedures, staffing coverage, and the like. And then if we were to add another position, they wanted us to consider that position to be more student-centered and supportive, like a restorative justice coordinator that could help. So we had a lot of conversation around this. We had Marge Hug as part of the security team and Steve Golston, speak to the roles that they actually do as security. And after all the conversation that we had, we felt that we wanted to just keep the recommendation. Our recommendation stays the same, that there should still be 1 to 2. What we did feel is that there needs to be more clarity around the role of security. There seems to be a misconception as security being just the physical safety element and disregarding the fact that they are more student-centered than we give them credit for. And so, we wanted to raise that to your attention. we had discussed, I don't think we have that prepared for today, but kind of a day in the life of a security team member, and to acknowledge to you all the levels of training that they all go through, from some restorative justice training, de-escalation training. So there's just a lot of things that they do that is definitely more student focused, that their role isn't just protecting the building, but really knowing the students that they are, in charge of securing. So we want to make sure we emphasize that to you all. And so with that being said, we definitely thought that an additional team member would still be helpful. So that was our discussion around priority 2. Next slide. And Rachel and Daniel, please chime in if I'm missing something, if I overlooked something. Please, add in. Priority 3 is to make sure students have access to social emotional supports. You all asked us to draft a job title and corresponding job description for a new staff position. Excuse me, our recommendation, the position, the job title is in that whole school safety folder. After doing some research, the School Culture and Climate Committee coordinator seems to speak to all of the things that we were looking for that person to do. And so that would be the specific job description that we want to share out with you all. It says here the committee has added a commitment by the school leadership to present a comprehensive SEL plan. Because we keep talking about a plan. At the last meeting, you guys wanted to see this plan in this school plan, and we just didn't think that we didn't want to put the two together, because that's something that wasn't for us as a committee to create. But we definitely felt that there needed to be some language that leadership would have that be done. So that's how we wanted to present it in terms of the whole school safety plan. And then we also added the cost of the alternatives programming, because not sure if OSEL will pay for it again for the 2021 school year. So we just wanted to make sure, at least for documentation purposes and for budgeting purposes, that you all were aware, because that is something that is recommended that we continue for this upcoming school year. Priority 4, so last slide, we wanted to make sure we provided mental health supports for students. So recommendation was to explore external partners, peer conferencing with alternatives, and your recommendations were to consider putting multiple scenarios together, assigning responsibilities, and to further plan, if a further plan is required, to name the plan. And so what we did was we added recommendation to hire an additional social worker, but we wanted it to be noted that those efforts are being currently worked on in terms of getting an additional social worker through ODLSS. In the plan, it reads to either develop an external partnership where that outside person would be coming in weekly, or a school social worker. So those are, and the development of a behavioral health team. So just to be clear, those are all the things that were recommended for priority 4. This slide only addresses what you all asked and some of our feedback to that. Rachel and Daniel, am I missing anything?
The only thing that I would add is I'm just linking the job description in the chat. I think that's the right doc. If it's not, correct me. But I found it in the safety committee data folder, and it was added June 24th. So I'm assuming that's the right one. I did separately want to just mention that I sent out a couple of weeks ago some results. Maybe it was like a week and a half ago. Some results from translated surveys. So thank you, Troy, for helping get those out, and Mr. Mitchell for helping me set that up. The response rate was statistically not viable, I guess is what you'd say. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to bring that up. There were about 18 responses to the Mandarin survey and 13 responses to the Spanish survey. And all those are in, I think I shared them all with you, those slides. And that the results of that survey, which was translated directly from the original parent safety survey that was sent out, were part of the conversation around the committee's collective choice to keep the recommendation for an additional security officer in the plan.
Thanks for adding that, Rachel. That was the end of the slide. So I guess, are there any additional questions? I see one in the chat. In terms of the coordinator position, was that found in the folder? I'm sorry, Rachel, did you just explain that?
I just wanted to check with you. I put the link to the doc in the chat, and I wasn't sure if that was what you were referring to.
Let me look and see. I know that I had tried to create a PDF that then put in the folder, and I think I was having some issues. So let me double check.
Also, there is a final slide to this presentation that has next steps. I don't know if you, Sarah, went over that. Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know, Mr. Mitchell, I know I can speak to the first two points here, because this is something we discussed at the last meeting, that last LSC meeting, is that we were noting that there isn't really a spot in the template, a place in the template that CPS has given us, the whole school safety plan template, for an accountability mechanism or scaffold for the plan, as well as ways to ensure that like the plan is monitor the plan's implementation. So those two things were kind of next steps for the committee and or for administrative team and or me, whoever wants to be a part of that.
That is correct. And just to clarify, yes, that job description that you linked to, that is, it has the youth intervention specialist and then the culture and climate coordinator. Because those were the two positions that seemed to resonate most to what was being asked or recommended by the committee. So definitely look at that PDF. I definitely think the culture and climate coordinator is much more better suited for all the needs that were expressed previously. So, seeing the next steps, what questions can we entertain from the group tonight?
Sarah?
Cassie, do you want to go by each priority where all the council members can ask the questions? Or do you want me to just?
Just I think just ask. I think it's fine.
Okay, so regarding priority 2, before we get to the priorities, if we want to approve the plan, and just for clarification, we actually need to sign off on the whole school safety plan, the narrative, right? And so we haven't seen that. So we saw your draft, unless there was just minor changes. Was there a lot of changes to those narrative?
So the changes in that doc
are here.
All of them are here. Yeah.
Okay.
I went through and compared what you saw at the last meeting to what Mr. Mitchell has added to the current doc that's in the folder, and those are all on this. So everything's the same except for what you see. I'm pretty sure. If I'm mistaken, correct me.
No, thanks for that clarification. That's helpful, because then I don't have to think of it as a separate document. It's more of this conversation. Okay, so regarding priority 2, when I read this last night, did a little research on, and to Elaine's point in the chat, I think she said the concern was not in regards to the security team being student focused. The concern was that there be a student focused approach during the plan development process. Inclusive of their input on the safety needs. My comment was, Jones has less than 2,000 students. As a comparison, Lane has 13 security guards, Whitney Young has 7, Peyton has 5. The elementary school where I understand elementary school's different in a different area of the city, but that school had 1,000 students, or does, and had 2 security guards. And I understand, Mr. Mitchell, that you're saying that security guards do more and they know the students. And when I was asking for that comprehensive analysis of what they're doing, it's only because I feel like a different non-security guard position could help at the entrance when there's a lot of students coming in and when there's a lot of students leaving. And if you can get coverage based on the hours of the day with your existing, what is it, 9? We have 9 security guards. Is that correct? With the existing 9 security guards, then being creative, thinking outside the box. Like what else, could we, instead of spending 100,000 plus on 2 new security guards, can we use that for different positions, like a student, whatever you guys think, but different positions that can do that job coming in, but then can do other stuff during the day. Whereas the other 9 security guards we have can cover the day-to-day stuff. So that was my.
To be clear, we never have 9 all at one time. So I just want that to be 100% clear. That the 9 span from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And so I just want to make sure that is clearly understood.
That's clear. I mean, I understand that Peyton has 5. School of 1,000 has 2. Elaine gave an example at the last meeting of her school had 1. I just want us to make sure that we're creative. I see your hand, Dr. Powers. Let me finish my comments. The SEL plan. So we can talk more about the security guard. The SEL plan, I would like a date. I don't want to say by the fall, school year. Is it by the August LSC meeting that we're going to see the plan? If you're able to provide that. And then regarding point priority 4, no, this one. My concern is if the social worker, having another social worker, great. If it's paid for by ODLSS, then only the students with IEPs and 504s will get access to that social worker. But we need someone that all the kids have access to. And even Karen, one of our LSC parent candidates, said that the counselors need more support and we need more college, support. So those were my comments.
Thanks, Sarah. Dr. Powers, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention with regard to the security people that we have, as Mr. Mitchell said, we are spread out over not only 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., but we constitute basically 2 city blocks downtown Chicago in 2 high-rise buildings. And the challenge is, and this is why I supported retaining the SROs in the first place, is that we are in a unique situation in terms of our area. We literally have no buffer around our school. The community, the city starts right at our front door in all directions, including the alleys and various other things. So I think we would benefit from having an additional security officer. That person could have additional duties, but if indeed that position is approved by Safety and Security, meaning CPS Safety and Security, it is not one of our budget positions. In other words, it would be something provided to the school. I've already reached out to J.D. Chow on that just to see if there is a process we could follow with regard to that, given that we no longer have our school resource officers. And with regard to a person who would serve other functions, I can certainly see that as being a valuable use of some of the funds that we have freed up as part of the cancellation of the SRO program. In addition, we are going to need, and we've discussed this to some degree, to upgrade our security systems in the building. That meaning the cameras and so forth, some areas of the building or the 2 buildings are not properly covered. That would help a great deal in terms of enhancing external security for our school, as well as security from within the school.
Can you clarify that you said that JD and Chow is potentially going to give you how many extra security guards? And that was not from the SRO money, that would be on like the down low?
That would be as part of our plan. Would that be something that CPS could do for the school? I have no idea whether that would be approved or not. We currently have 9, and again, I stand by that as far as the the scope of our building, the length of our day, the size, the number of students, et cetera, et cetera. So the 9 certainly is, has been necessary so that we have staggered schedules. An additional person could give us some additional security that we don't have with regard to not having the SROs anymore.
Ellen, you want to go ahead?
Sure. One of my questions I think was similar to Sarah's about the funding for the additional security officers. So it sounds like from what Dr. Powers you're saying, that would come from the SRO money, not the way that security officer or security team members are usually funded. So I wanted to ask that. And the second question was the 2 position descriptions that Rachel linked. I'm a little confused about whether we're planning to hire for both of these or neither or one, because it seemed like priority 2 was where that like fit in, but then if you look at like the right side, it looks like it's not there. So I'm confused, I guess. I'm sorry if this might just be a personal problem that I'm having. So I guess, Dr. Powers, if you could clarify that security team funding would be from the SRO money, not from the usual funding source. And then Mr. Mitchell.
At this point, I don't know. That's why I made the inquiry to Jay Dean some weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago. I have not heard back from her, but again, there's a lot going on in terms of transition for the summer. Again, what I'm hoping we'll be able to do is to have an additional person assigned to our school, not a person, but a position assigned to our school, and that it would not have to come out of the funds that were freed up for the SRO. But I do not know that. It's just simply an ask at this particular point. The funds that were freed up for the SRO, Mr. Mitchell, I think, could best speak to that in terms of what the conversations were and the directions we might want to go with that. Remember, we do have limited resources.
Yes, for sure. I see Mr. Mitchell in the chat said it would be one position. So that makes sense with what you were saying, Mr. Mitchell, earlier about which one of those you think is a better fit for Jones. I just wanted that clarification because I don't remember seeing that in the original plan language, and I don't see it here either. So that kind of goes back to what Sarah was saying about what are we actually approving.
Well, it would be my understanding that you guys are approving a plan which would include the hiring of this position that would support those needs. Now, if you want to put more specific, a culture and climate, if you want to name the position, then so be it. That's why we gave the recommendation. Here are 2 possible positions that speak to some of the things that were recommended. The youth intervention specialist has been kind of redefined. That's more so the restorative justice coordinator. And the school culture and climate coordinator can do those things, but is also a little more SEL focused. So, like I said, if you read that descriptor, it seems to speak to more of what we were looking for this potential person to do. So that's why they were both listed for, you all to have that conversation. We as a committee, said here are 2 positions that are worth the conversation. I spoke specifically and said, based upon those 2, I believe that the culture and climate coordinator speaks more to what I heard be stated repeatedly in terms of the need for this additional staffing. And as it relates to the security position, the last conversation had with JD and with anyone in security was, security positions are based upon need. And you fill, this is why we do documentation. If we have enough documentation to say that we need another person, then we might be able to get it through the normal ways that the way that safety security funds their security positions. They may, like I said, try to pull that particular position out of the SRO funds, but I don't know that answer tonight. So, but again, from the committee standpoint, as it related to kind of the whole school safety plan, that is indeed our recommendation.
Rachel, did you have a comment from the committee perspective?
I do. I just wanted to clarify. So the whole school safety plan is a recommendation. I think, Mr. Mitchell, you said this. I'm just going to say it in a different way. The whole school safety plan is a recommendation for a safety plan. And there's money associated with the school resource officer decision that the school will receive. But that's not necessarily like, we're not trying to necessarily fit the plan and the funds needed for the plan to the money that's being received for the decision that the LSC made on SROs. And so that amount is not going to be a one-to-one. I just wanted to clarify that point. I also wanted to say, and with respect to, I just wanted to bring up something that came up several times at committee meetings, safety committee meetings, which is that we discussed how school resource officers historically have been working on the border or the boundary of the, and outside of the school, as opposed to that's where their work has been seen the most, and that's what various committee members discussed. And we actually had several conversations about talking with the first district and maybe reaching out to individuals in the Chicago Police Department to talk about how we can work around the school. And so that was something that was brought up repeatedly. It's not reflected, I don't think, in this plan that we had brought that up. And Daniel, I don't know if you want to say more about that. I know that you brought that up a couple of times, but maybe that's a fault on the plan's part and something that we can add in, because I'm hearing the conversation about like reaching out to Jadine Chow about the funding for the additional security officer. And like, yes, that is in the plan, but there is also this important piece that we are going to kind of work with the alderman maybe. And so I think I wanted to just voice that now.
Thank you for bringing that up, Rachel, because we did, have that conversation. And no, it's not written into the plan, but that is definitely, conversations, not just conversations, but some next steps that were to be had once decisions, or not even if the decisions are to be made. Like you said, the plan is not one-to-one. These are things that we want to see happen, regardless for next year. With the decision being made to get rid of SROs, that and we have said this at each meeting. It was said at the June 10th meeting as well. The ability to either reach out to aldermen and or first district commanders to figure out what that coverage can look like. And Jadine has mentioned that as a possibility as well. We just don't have any of that in writing per se, but definitely was on everyone's radar.
Go ahead, Roberto.
Thank you. So Rachel, thank you for bringing that up, because that was going to be my next question, because at the June 10th meeting, we had talked about what are the next steps to ensure that the school has access to, in case of a real emergency threat, that they have access to the police department. And I remember, Mr. Mitchell, you said that the CPD and Jadine Chow would not abandon us, because if we decided to remove the SRO, the next step at that June 10th meeting was to reach out to Jadine Chow's office to talk about, as you mentioned, how are we going to coordinate and create that coverage for before school, after school, dismissal, arrivals, things like that. So I would like to see that in the plan. About how we're going to work with Jadine Chow in her office, how we're going to work with the police department in the first district. That's about a mile down the road. I think Daniel had mentioned it was about a mile down the road from the school. And then how we're going to work with the alderman. And then as far as the two recommendations of the security officers, or not security officers, the security team, I guess. I don't know what the right title is for their position. I think what is important here is to have a written description about their roles and responsibilities for us to understand, for us to understand what they do throughout the day, how they're going to support the school, how they're going to support the students. Mr. Mitchell, I think you mentioned, or Dr. Powers, you mentioned that they do more than just checking in students, but they do a lot more role for social emotional learning and helping students adjust and making them feel welcome at the school. I need to see that in writing. And I know that the other thing that was discussed was that the security team is spread out through the day, but no one's telling us how many security members are at the school at what hour. So let's have that schedule. Let's have that discussion. If from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. it's one person, then maybe we do have a valid reason to add another security member during that time. So I like to see that schedule. I like to see the roles and responsibilities, what else they do, how they're building community, how they're improving the experience for all students before I can vote on any plan. So I think those are important. One, what is the conversation? What's the plan look like with Jadine? Two, what are the roles and responsibilities for the security members there? And in order for me to understand why we need the additional 1 or 2 security members. And then 3, where's the funding coming from? Dr. Powers, you had mentioned in March when we had to make this decision, when we were planning making the decision for the SRO and the whole school safety plan, and you understood that we were pushing or encouraging the administrative leadership team to consider a culture and climate director or coordinator. You had indicated if this LSC votes on not keeping the SROs, we could use that money for that. So to me, it implied that you were somewhat on board with the idea of using those funds for the SROs to fulfill that position for the culture and coordinator. It's the reason why the LSC Equity Committee did a bunch of research and spent their energy and time contacting various CPS schools to understand how they use that coordinator, right? How they implement restorative justice program, how they're going to heal the community, right? That's what we had been working on. That's what you asked of us, and that's what we've delivered. So as far as the plan goes, in one of the slides, it shows if we decide to create that position. No, it's not if. It's we are going to create that position, and we are going to fill that position. Now, the question is whether we're going to hire someone outside the Jones community, or if we're going to dedicate a person that's already within the Jones community to fulfill that position. So those are my thoughts, and I can't vote on something unless I see those in writing.
Thanks, Roberto. Elaine, can you voice your questions that you put in the chat?
Yes. Let's
see.
see.
Sarah just unshared. Is it helpful if we reshare as you go?
Okay. So I know we are looking through the plan. So what I wanted to do was to kind of go through each priority and kind of have like questions or feedback. So in regards to priority 1, I was wondering if you had an update on bullet points 2 and 3, and if so, if you will add, and will you add dates for those items? Because I know that there is a commitment, but I agree with Sarah, it'd be helpful to have like a time frame, a due date of when you would have that. And I saw your message, Mr. Mitchell. I know you're on vacation, a well-deserved vacation. Essentially, when I looked through the priority, it was just to look to see there were some things, recommendations, I believe, from the previous documents of things that you guys are going to do. And I was looking basically to see if those things had been done and if that has been captured in a visual document. So then that way we can kind of look and see like, okay, bullet points 2 and 3. Did you do something in regards to that? Priority 2, did you capture the analysis mentioned in bullet point 1 in a document? And I'm not sure if I missed that. And then my other one for priority 3, as per bulletin point 1, did you explore external partnerships since we last convened? If so, if you would share the documents of your finding. The thought process was if we can see like, okay, you said you're going to do these things in terms of commitment. Did that occur? And if so, if it's in a document, then we can see and be more informed in terms of a decision.
In terms of the analysis, I'm sorry, the work with the external partner, I was last working with the counseling department because they were helping with that. particularly a conversation between me and Mr. Coleman, and there's no further updates in regards to that. So that's all I can say on that, is that that's still something that we're looking into. Have not solidified that. I obviously, if we would have had that, I would have put that in the plan. We plan on partnering with so and so, and this is what it's going to cost. Don't have that, but it's still something that we're working on.
Okay.
Being that it's summertime, I don't know if we'll come to. I don't know when we'll get that, but it's definitely something that we're working on.
Okay, because I think for that priority, it mentioned just seeing if they have an exit survey. So if that's a
Yes.
no, they do have one?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so that's what I meant. Like you said, okay, check that one. Let me switch screens. I'm not as as our lovely chair and secretary. They are awesome. So I believe that it mentioned something about just check to see if they have a survey. So then my thought was that's basically a yes and no. If they had it, like, yeah, we check to see if they have a survey, some type of exit survey. And then if they do, they do. If they don't, if we decide that's something we're going to do, just say we'll have this and by this date. With priority two, again, like that was just the same thing. Like that, I think that helps with the process. As you say that there's a commitment, there was a previous June 10th recommendation, the status of what has been done or what your findings were, so that people can concisely kind of look to see, okay, they said they were going to do that. This is what they did. This is where we stand. So does that make sense, you guys? I know it's getting late. And again, I do want to also respect Mr. Mitchell, your vacation time, because that's important, so you can return back refreshed. But if Sarah, Rachel, or whatever, if you all have that information, I think that would be helpful. Thank you, guys.
Rachel?
Yeah, to address that, Elaine, thank you for that. I do want to say, so I kind of organized the slides the way that I did because as we had our meetings, the safety committee, we were kind of voicing the recommendations from the minutes from June 10th. And so they were recommendations and not necessarily like to do for the committee. So I just want to kind of like, preface like the slides are, here are the recommendations from the LSC and here is where the committee took them. And they may not be like a one-to-one, like LSC said this responded. That I don't want to like color anything, but I just kind of wanted to put that there.
Thanks. So the goal is to vote on this by July 14th. I get the feeling that is not actually set in stone by CPS because there are many schools that have not held their votes yet, and that the vote is scheduled actually for later in the month. I don't really feel like this is going to be completed by Tuesday, which would be the 13th. And so I think it would be better to have a full document that we could then, like we do with like bylaws or with minutes, and approve and edit on the spot. If we have sort of a pretty complete draft that could be shared with us like a week before our meeting, and then we can offer our comments in the Google Doc, and then we can come together to finalize it and hold a vote on the final version. And I think that would make more sense. I think we definitely need some clarity on these things. I myself am not, it's not clear to me why we would need more than 9 security guards. And so I really need to see a lot of data on why that would be, in terms of what the roles and responsibilities are, what their schedules are like, and where the needs are going to be to ask for that. And I certainly, my vote on the SROs was not predicated on the idea that we're simply replacing SROs with more security and using those funds just for security guards. So that's really a big concern, because I think what we've been hearing from students, what they need is not that. And I also have a lot of concerns about some of the security guard behavior and whether they're actually contributing to a safety feeling in the school, given that there's been comments that they have made to female students especially, and students of color. And I think that's something that really has not been addressed, and it was brought up an entire year ago. And I would like to hear about how that actually has been addressed at the school level, especially if we're talking about adding security guards when we know that we have all these mental health and emotional support needs at the school, especially because of the pandemic. And I would agree with Roberto that I'd like to see these, and with what Rachel said that they had talked about in the committee. So I think we should plan for a special meeting later this month. And I think getting this stuff in line and getting some answers on things in time for an early starting school year is also something that we should really keep in mind. So Dr. Powers, you want to go ahead?
Yes, just to clarify on 2 points. When I was discussing the possibility of adding a security officer, it was not with the intention that we would use the alternate funds that are being given to us, meaning the money freed up from not having the SROs. It would be based on an evaluation of the school's unique needs, considering the absence of 2 Chicago police officers. Would one additional CPS security officer provide us with meet our sufficient needs with regard to the safety and security of the building? The second point is Mr. Menjivar mentioned in terms of the money being devoted toward a position, a culture and climate coordinator position. I think we've been fairly clear on that that is the direction we are headed. The exact definition of it and the exact set of roles and responsibilities are something that have to be examined and developed and then put in place before we do a hire. And that would include, as Mr. Menjivar mentioned, whether there is somebody who is not currently a member of the Jones staff, or whether it is somebody who is already a member of the Jones staff. Those are all things that remain to be seen based on what we're looking for, who we're looking for, and what kind of services that person's going to provide. We are definitely moving in that direction. That is our intention to move in that direction, and that does not preclude the whole issue of an additional security officer.
Thanks for that clarification. Okay, I think then we do not need to vote on this for this meeting, and we'll take a poll for a special meeting probably later this month. I don't know if waiting until August 10th is actually a very good idea. And we can find out from the whole school safety committee what their timeline is in terms of being able to meet again before we meet again.
Our timeline will be based upon when we get all of the asks. So all the things that you guys want to see in writing added to the document. Once we kind of can gather all that and then meet. So our timeline will be short, but we need to get everything that you guys want to make sure that we include in there. So as soon as we get those minutes from you all, we'll schedule a meeting and then we'll give you a timeline from there.
Thanks, Sarah.
So just for clarification, because I feel like we're asking for data, you'll give us data. Your recommendation will still be for 2 security guards. And so I guess my question is to the count. No? People are shaking their heads?
No,
okay.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I think it's stated as 1 to 2 as a possibility based on the needs of the school and our special circumstances. If I'm incorrect, Eric, let me know. But in the meantime, I want to see Mr. Mitchell leave this meeting as soon as possible and rejoin his family.
Yes, it was really for 1. Initially, yeah. You can even take, if it makes it any easier, we can take 1 to 2 off, and our recommendation is for 1. All right. Right. But I still hear what you're saying, Sarah, in regards to what you guys want to see, the why that is necessary. And we will see what we can do to provide that information for you. Marge isn't on the call. She's on YouTube, but she could definitely speak to the day-to-day. You want schedules, I can provide that for you. I can get that to you guys next week. So some of the asks can happen early next week. I'll put it in the folder.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be helpful because you obviously know that you need it, but we don't know. You know what I mean? So.
Thanks, Mr. Mitchell, for taking the time. Just as a reminder to everyone, the schedule for this whole school safety committee planning was supposed to begin at the beginning of April and then wind up by mid-June. So the delay and the fact that we're all spending our summers discussing it is just what it is. And so let's keep that in mind if we're concerned about that. Okay, so the next item is a budget update. From what I have heard, there is not guidance yet on how to use ADF funds. There is guidance on how to use OST money, and I linked to that with the agenda so people can take a look at that. I don't think we're spending any OST money this summer at Jones, and so it looks like we need to have a pretty full plan and actually be spending it by a certain point in the fall. If there's any update on appeals from CPS or changes like with respect to diverse learner appeals, that would be helpful to have, Dr. Powers, or if there's any more information on enrollment numbers, that certainly makes a difference. So if you can fill us in on any of that, that would be great.
I would be happy to. First of all, you are correct. The ADF funds, we have not received detailed guidance. We have some general ideas and general concepts, but it's nothing more than that. So although we are sketching out what we might be doing and what some of our needs are, the exact implementation of those funds remains to be seen until we can get more specific guidance. And again, to the best of my knowledge, from what's been indicated before, those funds are not necessarily going to continue after the upcoming school year. Some might, not necessarily all of it. With regard to the OST, we are in the process of, we don't have any programming for the summer, other than we have our summer school programs and so forth. And we have students, a number of students lined up with regard to credit recovery classes as well. But that is kind of outside of that particular planning. That's something we've done every summer. For OST right now, we are working to have a faculty member who will serve, one or more faculty members serve as leads in this area. In other words, they will help to coordinate, help us plan and coordinate what our out of school time services are going to be. The overall purpose there is basically a combination of determining learning lag needs with some of the changes with regard to the number of students we have coming in with IEPs and the breadth of scores, incoming scores. We're going to be able to provide, and we'll have some resources to provide additional out-of-school support for some of those kids as well. That's going to be part of our planning. In addition to that, additional SAT prep outside of school time, and we will have some funds to support that. I suspect, I believe that the OST funding might be continuing on. That's what I've heard. Let's put it that way. But again, nothing has been formalized. With regard to the appeal, we did appeal. We initially received an additional diverse learner teacher position, which we're filling internally. We have now been approved on our appeal for another person to serve as a diverse learner teacher, and that it will be posted shortly. Right now, the budgets haven't truthfully been released yet. They haven't been approved. So until that goes into the system and the budgets open up, we have posted that position on our website, but it's not posted by CPS because does not yet have a position number. but we'll be looking at additional full-time person. But again, just a reminder, that's taking us back to where we were a year ago, where we lost 2 positions. Now we've regained them just in time for a larger number of kids with IEPs. And finally, our total enrollment right now is standing somewhere in the middle of the around 1950, 1955, a little bit lower than our projected. And some of that is probably because of not getting full reconciliation of our numbers between Jones and CPS. Some students, families respond to CPS, not to us, some to us and not to CPS. So it takes us a few weeks into the summer before that solidifies. We are also in the process of finalizing transfer requests. From that group of people, we had well over 100 requests of transfers from grades 10, rising grades 10, 11, and 12. Right now, we have approved and gotten CPS approval for about 23 transfers in, heavily incoming sophomores, maybe 10, 11, 12, and the rest are mainly incoming juniors. I don't think we have any incoming seniors at the moment. We are holding that open, however, in case there are others that come up or we feel like we can add additional ones. We wanted to be very careful because we didn't want to blow the top out of the enrollment and run into some space issues and classroom issues. So we'll see how this all develops in the next couple of weeks. We may be adding some additional students to that transfer. Back when we were growing rapidly, we were adding as many as 40, 50, even 60 student transfers. We got down to about 10 or 11, typically. Now we're in a position that perhaps these 20, 23 will be all we do, or we might add to that. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. Our main goal is to make sure we hit our enrollment projection, which was 1,970, was what we're budgeted on.
Thanks for that update. Sarah, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I know you said the budgets haven't really loaded yet. When I was looking at when we approved the budget in May, we had to close an English teacher, and add an AP and a support staff. So how do you pay for those right now?
Okay. The English position remained closed. In other words, we reduced by 1 full position, and the person who was in that position is now going to be going back to the diverse learners programming. We did close and displace 1 office staff member based primarily on seniority and essentially the needs of the office. And then with the assistant principal position, we've had to do this in the past because we're not able to cover all 3 positions through budgeted funds. That position will be reopened with internal accounts as soon as the budgets open up again and we have that capacity to do so. I anticipate that'll be sometime in the next 2 weeks. In the meantime, the individual displaced is essentially listed as a cadre and assigned to Jones. No interruption of seniority, no interruption of salary and benefits until we reestablish how that person is being funded.
Right, because the plan was to fund that through ADF funds, maybe.
That is going to be part of our thinking on that, yes.
And then, do you have any update? Okay, and there's no updates on internal rentals.
Troy, we're getting a few, aren't we?
Yeah, they're slowly coming back.
So you're allowed to have inside?
I have one that is a pool rental. I have 2 tracks. And I'm going to be opening up a conversation with CPS Real Estate to reestablish the churches that rent on Sundays, which once those are approved, I think we'll be in full swing.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to talk about that at the budget committee because I did some research and I do think that LSC is supposed to at least approve those rental contracts. So maybe we can put together like a bang up list for August or something.
Thanks. That sounds good. Yes. So I think we can assume that we'll do a special meeting before the end of the month to finalize this whole school safety plan. I think it's really important that one of those items in this whole school safety plan is to actually have a social emotional learning plan, which I think we were promised originally to have on the agenda in March. So it's definitely something that we want to see and that we need to see, especially if we have these additional funds that we're supposed to be allocating. So that, I think that the requests that we've had tonight to have some dates in there, and I don't know if you're like an ex officio member of that whole school safety committee, Dr. Powers, but I think that would be helpful to get that, those details and get them in writing.
Our leadership team will be reconvening starting next week because we've been kind of scattered around a little bit. And we're going to begin the process of pulling together everything that's been requested. Try to make sure we have a comprehensive plan to put forward, and hopefully we'll receive some of the additional guidelines that we need on the ADF funding, which will help drive some of the decisions that we make.
Thanks. So the next item is just for like an FYI for everyone. It's that tracking document. I hadn't updated it since May. So do check that out. And I think it's a good way to keep track of what we've done this year and what changes have happened. Number 9 is approval of items over $2,500. Mr. Voigt sent us several tonight at 5. And the one that we already knew about is the textbook for AP Human Geography. That one has been I don't know if it has the updated funds on it, Sarah. And so is that ready to be approved?
We have the amount. The funding source has, I think, changed because it was going to be, it says SBB Bookline. That's correct. So yeah, we can approve that one. There's one for boys basketball apparel. Cassie, you're able to, I put a link in the agenda. Could you throw it in the chat for people? Sorry. That's for $4,420. There's CPS Venture Cards for $7,872, which part of that is for it says fiscal year 20 student replacement cards and past balance. So I don't know if we pay these in the rears, Dr. Powers.
There was some confusion, and Jeremy addressed that with the people at CPS earlier today, that it seemingly we were not communicated with. I'm trying to think of the right word.
We were charged. We were billed.
They essentially did not say, hey, you now owe us X amount back in January or February. So essentially we're dealing with, some funds that we are in arrears because we did not have documentation of the request. We essentially respond to when we're told this is how much you still owe in that area.
Okay, so that explains the outstanding balance from school year 18-19. But this is saying that the fiscal year 20, because it's fiscal year 22. I guess I'm just confused about.
I thought it was supposed to be that we still owed for fiscal year 21.
Okay, maybe that's
I had a brief conversation with Jeremy today on
okay. Anyway, we owe $7,872 for venture cards. We owe, or we can purchase Edleo. That's our school website service. That's $37.50 for the year. It's an annual renewal. My question was this it was in the budget. Student caps and gowns that were $9,060. The previous graduation expenses was for the diplomas and the covers. So this is a new expense. And maybe Dr. Powers, I know that Friends of Jones covered a lot for the graduation. Do you know what they covered?
They essentially covered the cost of Soldier Field and related costs. In the past, we've always charged a graduation fee. We didn't last year, we didn't this year as well. But we'll probably be looking toward some way in which we can offset some of these costs through a graduation fee.
Okay. You don't happen to know how much Soldier Field cost?
Lots of money. Okay. I don't know. It was more expensive than the Auditorium Theater, which is around $16,000. Okay. Soldier Field was more than that. I know that.
Okay. There's a line for $3,867.84 for the macroeconomics textbook. It's just to supplement increased class sizes, so it's not a new book. It's just more books. And then this one, a $10,000 to No Red Ink school annual writing program license. Can you talk about, is that an annual? It says annual, but like, I don't remember seeing this in the budget.
I don't know offhand whether it was in the budget or not, but it is an annual thing. I don't know that I think it was not used last year, and because we're coming back in person, it is being used again. Yeah, it's an online tool that's primarily for the English teachers to be able to provide feedback to students on their compositions and writing. Daniel's probably familiar with it much more than I am.
Okay, maybe it was in there. I don't remember seeing what it was called. I don't remember that dollar amount specifically. And then Turnitin, which was in the budget, was $78.14 school annual homework program license. So those are both paid out of the activities fees fund. I know when we were approving the budget, we had a long discussion about who pays for departmental needs and who pays, so for example, the annual writing program, it seems like the whole English department uses it, but the school is paying through the activity fees. It's not through their department budget. I just wanted to point that out. Now, Cassie pointed out that some of these software are not on the, I was going to say Ted Lasso. What is it called? SOPA.
Yes.
I know I had 5 letters, just like Lasso. Which might have 6 letters actually. I'm so tired. So, do we want to approve ones that we're not sure we can buy?
I am not sure at this particular point whether all of those currently fall under SOPA. I know Troy is looking into some of this. A lot, I think, with CPS is in process for them to approve. Everything has to be approved. Anything like that that's collecting student information has to be approved through our technology office with CPS. Troy, I don't know if you can add anything to that more than I can. I know I've got a session next week that's supposed to give me more information, and I've had some training session just with the broad brush strokes of it.
I can't really add that much to it. All I know is that our conversation with EdTech is the list they shared with us is the same one that almost the same exact thing that they had almost a month ago. And I know that they're adding more and more as they go. And I know that there are actually vendors that have been approved that are not on the list. So in trying to get an email back from EdTech is near impossible.
Noted.
I think everyone is scrambling with SOPA, trying to get a handle on it, and nobody has a complete handle on the situation within CPS. But hopefully, over the next weeks, we'll be able to figure out a lot more about it. Things will be clarified, I think, because it's important for us to be in compliance with that. And I think the number one thing is it needs to be something that our EdTech authorities have approved. And then we have the backing of CPS for usage.
Roberto?
Yeah, I have one question regarding the purchase order for the boys basketball team. If I can ask that question, I don't know if is that okay? Great. So the boys basketball team is purchasing, looks like new jerseys, team uniforms for $4,420. So the first question is this coming out of the athletic department, I know during the budget process we approved, I think the athletic department had about $75,000 allocated to their budget. So is that coming out of their budget? And the second thing I want to know is, do the girls need new uniforms? And I bring this up because I think last month the girls soccer team had started a GoFundMe fundraiser, and I don't know what that was, but they raised about $4,000 to $5,000, I think. And that money, one, I don't know what they were raising the money for, if it was for new school uniforms or for equipment, but I want to make sure that we're being equitable and that the girls team are that their needs are being met. So, and then the other part, I think Elaine had brought this up, that the cheerleading team had raised funds. I think it was the cheerleading team or the spirit team, but we see the boys asking for the school to purchase their uniform. So I want to make sure that we're assessing both the boys and girls teams.
I think I can speak to that, Mr. Menjivar. Typically, the types of things that the teams do fundraising for are for what I would call accessories. And maybe that's not the right term for it, but additional things. In other words, beyond the uniform, whether it be bags or jackets or warm-ups, things like that, beyond the actual players' uniforms. We make sure that our students, if the team needs it in the assessment of the individual coaches, that is necessary, then it is definitely something that we will take care of. And with regard to the Title IX related questions that you're mentioning here in terms of support for men's and women's sports, we have an extremely strong record in that area. We're essentially audited all the time. In fact, I think we've got a meeting coming up in the next few weeks on that very subject, just to make sure that we're not neglecting any other students in the process. So yes, definitely that's something we're very mindful of. But again, from internal accounts or from budgeted money, like from the athletic account, we normally it's going to be the actual uniform itself. Fundraising is probably additional things that the students want to have.
Pardon me, Dr. Powers. It's my understanding that with the cheerleaders, there are uniforms with their mismatch, and part of that money was going to be used for uniforms. And I'm not sure, when I talked to the athletic director, he wasn't aware that they even were doing that fundraiser, but I think they were trying to pitch in to purchase those things for the girls, and they don't have matching uniforms. So that's an interesting point that you brought up, Mr. Mentor. Thank you.
I will check into that, because that's, again, I'm not aware of that, and I'll see what I can find out on the subject.
Thank you. My daughter's on the team. Thank you.
Very good.
Ellen?
Yeah, I just quickly wanted to follow up. I definitely agree with what Troy was saying. It's so hard to get a response from EdTech right now. Their email, like their list on their website, hasn't been updated since the end of April. I will note that No Red Ink is on the SOPA approved list. I don't currently see Turnitin on there. I just wanted to put that out there just to update, because I agree that there's some confusion / question associated with approving something that may not actually be approved for use. Yeah, so just wanted to clarify that real quick.
Yeah, I think one of them appears on that Learn platform website as pending. So that must be No Red Ink. And then Turnitin is not on there at all yet. So yes. Troy, do you want to go ahead? You're muted.
Sorry. I just wanted to point out that I think Sarah put it in the chat that this would be coming from the athletic department or account, but it also mentions that it was going to be repaid by the boys basketball. So my assumption would be that they will probably have some kind of fundraising or have to pay for the uniforms. But to get the uniforms ready for their season, they had to purchase it now. That would be my interpretation of it.
Yeah, and then Elaine had a question in the chat that there's the bill from Ventra, but there's also a past due balance that is also included in that 7,800 of 2338 from the 2018-2019 year.
I don't know the reason for that, but the only thing I can suggest is it may have something to do with the fact that we shut down school. There may have been some delay in them billing us. I truthfully don't know the answer to that.
So I think some of these seem like it's very easy and straightforward to do tonight, and some of them, if they're not urgent, I don't know if we have too many questions that people would like to delay them until the special meeting. Troy, go ahead.
I just want to mention too, with the venture card, within Aspen, in the system before this, it would automatically charge the student a $6 fee for any kind of replacement. In the new system, Aspen, it doesn't do that. So we probably most likely will see another bill like this if they stay on top of like charging us, probably in the fall when we add the freshmen that are coming in and any kind of replacements that are that students lost their ID, which it's a combo card, it's their ID and their venture card, whether they use it or not. So we may see this again.
Thanks. So Sarah, do you want to like craft a motion out of this stuff?
Yeah, and just to clarify with Troy, so that $6 when they lose it, we just eat that. Is that what you're saying?
For the most part, we try to add it to their account, but this past year it's been so hard to add it that I think most of it's been waived.
Okay. All right, we can talk about that in the budget committee. Yes. Okay, I can make a motion for all of them if you want. I asked, it was late though, because Mr. Voigt had a very busy day, and so he sent this I think as he was running out the door. So I said, are any of these super important? You know, is there anything that could wait? My thought is we could approve them all if they're bounced back from CPS because it's not in SOPA or doesn't meet SOPA, then then we just cancel this and then we have to find an alternative anyway. So, but I think if we could approve these, I think that would be good to allow Mr. Voigt to really get a jump start for the school year.
I would second that.
So if you guys are okay with that, then I'll make a motion. I'm actually going to read it all out. Yeah? Okay, so here's the motion. I make a motion to pay $34,002.15 to Cengage for AP Human Geo textbooks, $4,420 for boys basketball apparel to BSN Sports, $7,872 for CPS venture cards, $3,750 to Edleo for the school website annual renewal, $9,060 to Herf Jones for the 2021 student cap and gown, $3,867.84 to Macmillan for the macroeconomic textbooks to supplement increased class sizes, $10,000 to No Red Ink for the school annual writing program license, $7,814 to Turnitin for the school annual homework program license. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. Roll call. Andrade.
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Bugs?
Yes.
Serna Prado?
Yes.
Cresswell?
Yes.
Hilbrands?
Yay.
Land?
Yes.
Ma, yes. Martinsek?
Yes.
Menjivar?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
And Zen?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion carries.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. I think one of the comments in this does speak to the fact that we need to really get a handle on fundraising, especially if it's for these sports teams, and we want to actually track like how much is being spent and who's doing outside fundraising to cover stuff, who's doing, getting it covered with fees. We need to make sure that there's not outside fundraising going on that is not coming through the LSC. So like the girls soccer one, definitely. And Dr. Powers, do you have a comment on that?
Yes, because we were discovering that there were fundraisers, especially GoFundMe type pages and so forth, that were being launched without any knowledge of the school. So that's something we have trying to really get in line. We've informed all the faculty and staff, any sponsors, and we will be communicating that very strongly as we move into the new school year, that anything that is being done, whether it is being done like through something like GoFundMe or whatever, that is an external partner of some sort, has to be approved by the LSC. It has to come to the LSC.
Great, I'm glad to hear that. And I hope you're including Friends of Jones in that list because their fundraisers should also actually be coming through us. I think it's pretty clear in both the LSC Resource Guide and the Internal Accounts Manual. So I look forward to more discussions of that, probably through the Budget Committee as well.
I think that's a conversation you'll have to have with Friends of Jones. I'm just kind of dealing with the students and the faculty and staff as well.
Well, they're definitely on the list of external organizations raising money for the school in the name of the school. So we will save that for a future meeting. I think we have, let me check. I don't think anyone showed up to speak. And so seeing no further business, we can adjourn. Thank you guys so much.